What is up, you guys? We are here for our weekly anchor message where we receive our spiritual assignments for the week. And just to set the stage for a little bit of context, there's a story, the weekly portion of the Torah, which we kind of focus on the commentary of the Zohar, focuses on this portion of Pinchas, where Pinchas was a person who was of little significance, but it was like he was given the strategy in order to save the people of Israel, the Israelites, from this plague that had taken over. And the thing that he had to do was get rid of these two people that were the source of the plague. And he was obviously struggling with that because he feared the consequences. He was unsure of what that was, like why he was being directed to do that. But he knew undoubtedly that that was what was being asked of him. Now, when we study the Torah, we understand that we're not looking at the surface layer, the clothing of the Torah in the stories, but we're looking deeper into the soul of the Torah, into the archetypes that exist within and around us. So the deeper meaning of the story is really about and this ties into the month of Cancer, being, when we go through these months with the lunar influence over the month, we are challenged with the shadow nature of that sign. But when we can overcome like the shadow nature of that sign, it reveals also the gifts and strengths of that sign. So part of Cancer is that, and I have a Cancer moon, so my Cancer moon be mooning, and it's like my moon is in Cancer too, so I am like, whew, all the Cancer things, like I am very strong. So Cancer can have a lot of fears and a lot of magnified fears, and it can be hard to face those fears. Cancers don't have straightforward vision, right? They go from side to side, right? So it's like we are in the moon card in the tarot talks about facing hidden fears and hidden fears revealed, and overcome our avoidance to fear and just meet it head on. And so the lesson is that Pinchas he overcame his own fears of the consequences of what he knew he had to do, and he did it anyway. Because of that, he was given protection from the death angel, and he was given this God's peace. And they were like, yes, even though it seemed as though Pinchas died, he didn't die the way regular people die. He lived longer than anyone in his generation, and then he died in this way that like elevated righteous tzaddik people die, with like a consciousness, right? So, even Jesus talks about that, and he says, I lay my life down so that I can pick it back up again. And it's like what we're able to surrender and give to God. It shows that we don't need that thing. We don't idolize that thing, that we don't think that thing is going to complete us. And therefore, if that thing doesn't own us and we can let it go, we're not bound by it, we don't bind things, then we're free to then have that fulfillment. So when we face our fears, even though we are afraid of the consequences of our action, like when we do the right thing, though, it's not just when we're doing something reckless that may or may not have anything to do with doing the right thing, right? It's not being, risky or reckless. It's about when we're asked to do something that's difficult to do, that takes courage, that takes integrity, and it's hard to do that thing, and we don't want to rock the boat, we'd rather keep the peace, kind of thing, and we're prompted to take an action, or we're prompted to make change in our life. It's like when we do the thing that we know is right, even in the face of fears, even though we're afraid of the consequences, it's like then the angel of wrath and judgment give us grace and mercy. And so it puts this protection around us. And so another way to say that is like when you face your fears, you are exempt from your fears. As my teacher, Eitan, our Yardini on the Daily Zohar pointed out, when you face your fears, you exempt yourself from your fears. And when you run away from your fears, that causes you to be chased by your fears. And the way I've always put it, in my words, is if it's not an issue, it won't be an issue. And as long as it's an issue, it will be an issue. So keeping that in mind, I will show you guys the cards today, which I think are very on point as always, and then you can listen to the audio and we'll come right back. So from the wild unknown archetypes, we have the offering, we have the sustainer, and we have the judge. Underneath the offering, we have the feminine King of Wands. Underneath the sustainer, we have the Hanged Man. And underneath the judge, we have Two of Swords. All right, I'm going to let y'all listen to the audio. It's like a minute and a half, and then we'll come back.
What we give to God, God will give back to us. Jesus said, I laid down my life so that I might pick it back up again. When we give beyond our ego, beyond comfort zone, beyond benefit, beyond result, when we make an effort to grow beyond our easy or selfish inclinations, when we restrict ourselves from being baited by temptation, we open ourselves up to miracles, and we are protected from the wraths of judgment. We are kept. We are sustained. It is our trust in God, not our illusions of control, that keep us sheltered and protected. We must resist in unconditional sharing and unconditional efforts regardless of perceived results. We must decisively choose to cultivate and maintain the consciousness, faith, and optimism to persevere.
Okay, so I think that we're being challenged, probably in various ways to face certain fears this week, but I think that we're also being challenged to have the kind of perseverance that allows us to see through the smoke and mirrors and show up for what we're called to do unconditionally and not be discouraged when we don't see results. Like me and my friend at work last night were just talking about if there was just one core pillar of our life that was giving us anything, it would feel so encouraging, but it just feels so heavy that nothing in our lives is giving. And I was like, I know, it just really, it does make it feel like so much harder to keep showing up without any relief, any comfort, any encouragement. But I was like, I told her, I was like, recently, I even almost gave up on all my dreams and social media and things because I just felt like my life was going by and I wasn't tending to important adult concerns. And I was like, and just in the nick of time, right when I was about to just start, dwindling out and all that, I started getting a little bit more growth, in my views. If you guys maybe notice, I've had a surge in follows recently and a surge in views, just a little one, but it's encouraging, right? But I was telling her, I was like, I came to that point, back a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, and I realized that at this point, when I don't get anything out of it and I don't enjoy it, and it's almost like more trouble than it's worth, or, certain, kind of trolling personalities are out there and you're just like, why am I doing this for these people? You're just and some of people are super supportive and they keep you going, and though you're so grateful for those people, but they're also the other kind of people too, and they might not even be public people. They might be people in your life that are trolling you in person, right? And so you're just like, why am I doing all this? I realized, I was like, oh, now that it's not enjoyable, there's no glory in it, there's no payoff, there's no boost to the ego, there's no benefit, it's uncomfortable. This is the first time that I'm actually giving an offering to something other than myself. It's the first time that it can actually be done without intention and without a selfish inclination. Because at the end of the day, I'm showing up not because I don't know what else to do. There's plenty of other things to do. Not because I need the validation. I don't. Not because I think this makes me special or something. That'd be the shine is off of the, the glitter has fallen off the turd, guys. There's nothing that gives you fulfillment about like somebody's like, thumbs up. It's just your day-to-day life is still the same. But what does give fulfillment is when you feel like the creator was able to shine in someone's life and you got out of the way and it made an impact. And I can't own that, but it feels humbling. And so you feel like you show up because you are there making an impact, but not for you, for others, for the creator. And if, at the same time, like you have to give and you have to show up because it's not for you, it's for something higher than you, something higher than your, the other person. It's for the creator. So you have to have like total radical responsibility, but like take no ownership, have ultimate humility, because if it wasn't me, it would be somebody else. Have you guys ever had a creative idea that leaked out of your brain and somebody else got it and they did it? And you're like, how could that random thought actually occur to somebody else? It will. If you don't be the vessel for something that needs to come through, find a way. So it's about maintaining the queen, it's not the queen, we're the feminine king of wands here. It's about ultimately being able to receive these gifts for the sake of sharing, not for the self alone. And to receive all the support and anything that would come with it, not for the self alone, but for the sake of sharing. Any attention, any acclaim is only for the sake of the message, the vessel. Right? And so you protect your enthusiasm because it doesn't matter if you're getting results. It doesn't matter if you are, or at least you might not see the results, is the thing. So it's like you may not be getting material validation and feedback yet, but you don't know the kind of spiritual results you're getting. And that just releases you and liberates you from the expectation that you have on things, and it allows the universe to use more pathways if you're more flexible. So when we don't project some image on something, an engraved image on something, then it gives us more flexibility to see God moving through the situation in ways that we wouldn't have perceived before because we were so attached to the outcome that we projected. So, we trust and we surrender, but what we do is we give whatever we're so attached to, whatever we want to hang on to so bad. Ooh, I want a relationship. I've got to let go of that need. I've got to let go and give it to God. I got to give maximum effort. I got to take care of myself. I've got to have a good, cultivate a wonderful life and know how to keep a magical home that is going to, bring someone into it and give value and add to their life. But I can't do everything with that at the center of my motives, and it's like I want this thing to be successful and I want it to take me out of the traditional workplace so that I can be absolutely available to do this prolifically. But I have to surrender that over to God, to God's timing, if God wills it to be so, right? And I just got to show up and give maximum effort, and no matter what happens. And, this might not be the same if it were just one of my side hustles, right? If I had locked down this hard over my Etsy shop, I would be, throwing away my energy on a cause that's not necessarily fully aligned with my purpose. The focus would be off. You see what I'm saying? But it's still in the vibe. It's still in my wheelhouse, right? So knowing how to prioritize what you're really being called towards and what is right for you to do, regardless of how fearful you are about how it's going to go or how it's going to turn out, it's like you have to trust. Because ultimately, and this is something that they point out in A Course in Miracles too, our strength is in our defenselessness. The illusion of control is just a trap of the ego, and it keeps you running around in animal consciousness. But when you can tap into, the higher truth, right, and see that, that reality is mutable and your faith can shift things in a moment, right? So we continue to show up because we know there's a purpose, and we maintain that enthusiasm because We can trust that there's a higher purpose. When we try to control everything, we block, we close off, we shut down. We're operating through fear, and so then we're attracting more fear, more lack. We don't believe that we're whole, that it's already there, right? All the potential exists at the seed level. If there's a thought, then it means that thing already exists. It's already in completion somewhere. You connected with it. So that gives you you feel a relaxed sense to trust yourself with the direction of the divine, the current that's going to take you to where the heavenly beings are trying to lead you. When you're cooperative and you're making an effort, it doesn't mean that you're passive and that you just completely take your hands off the wheel. And if you're like, well, if God wanted this to happen, he would have made it happen. It's like, no, that's not it either. We're here to unfold our potential, right? Not to be passive and toxic receivers, but we need to be proactive receivers. We need to be conscious receivers, because in order to share, we have to fill our own tank as well. But it's knowing that we want to align with what is truly ours, because then that can yield fulfillment and blessing. And if we are trying to chase after something that's not ours, it will lead to chaos. It won't be fulfilling, and it will cost more in the end than it's worth. So then that's what this is all about. The sustainer card, we realize, okay, who's really got the whole world in their hands here, right? Even the adversary is under the control of God. He's doing an evil bidding, but he is doing a job. And just like in any story or any game you play, whether it be a sport or a video game or a role-playing game, there's always an adversary. Whether it's chess, you can play a mathematical pattern game and there's still an adversary. That's what makes it a game. That's what makes that gives the friction for something to happen, right? So there's an ultimate purpose hidden within all things. And when we can trust that, whilst using our own moral compass and our higher consciousness, then that opens the way for miracles to come. But it all lies in the way that we perceive the world and our consciousness that we choose to cultivate. So the Hanged Man card is sometimes a moment of perceived inactivity, but more is going on than meets the eye. And it's a moment in pause so that we can practice that state of radical surrender, ultimate appreciation, ultimate humility. And it's a moment where, time and space are catching up and parts and pieces are moving. And it's also a moment of grace that allows us to shift that consciousness and transform that consciousness so that we can, maybe correct for mistakes or recent, pitfalls or short circuits or whatever. We can shift our thinking to a better thought, and we can have a change of heart and mind, and then that can add to that blessing that's being shaped and formed, right? This Hanged Man card also reminds me of like death of the ego, but it's like self-sacrifice. It's like laying down our own life on our own cross. When we lay down our own agenda, and when we lay down the thing that we're so attached to, it's only when we can truly let go and be at peace with it that we can truly pick it back up and have authority in the matter, right? We are given the ability to have cosmic spiritual authority in this realm, but we have to earn that authority. We have to earn that status, that ability. And it happens through our resonance and our spiritual transmutation. You can't fake it. You can't get skipped to the head of the class because someone likes you better. You have to attune yourself to the harmonies of the cosmos in order to do that. And part of that is rising above our animal instincts and reflexes. We were talking about this in Secret Teachings of Jesus, Gospel of Thomas, saying 17, what no eye has seen, part 1 and 2. And I will show you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, what no heart has felt. And we've gone into 2 hours worth of depths about that, but also that this was something I wanted to add to that idea, that when we are in a lower state of consciousness, like when Jesus was talking to the crowds and the multitudes, he used parables, and so many people complained about that because they're like, Jesus, we can't understand your parables. We can't understand your metaphors and your allegories. Like, can you just say it straight up so we can all be clear about what you're telling us to do and not to do? And he was like, no, I cannot. I'm sorry. I cannot do that. And he purposefully hid certain things so that the blind would not be able to see what they couldn't perceive. There were certain things that if you don't have the consciousness to handle the truth, then it won't be used and wielded properly. It'll be mutated and contorted and misunderstood. Or it'll be ineffective for you or cause more trouble for you, right? So you aren't worthy of that knowledge unless you can come to that growth inside that would allow you to understand that, right? So we're all born, that Jesus talks about being a true human, or he uses these terms that indicate some kind of some human with the title, right? And when we're born, the straight out of the box version of us, we don't even have the higher aspects of our soul. It's something that happens gradually. We just have like a base package. So our base package consciousness, basically we're like lower animalistic consciousness. We're primitive. Even when we think that we're sophisticated by our modern technology and society, people's mentality is so primitive and so basic and so material in their understanding. They can't grasp like far out lofty concepts. They're so literal and material. So it was the same then and it's the same now. And so if you are in a lower state of animal consciousness, then you're going to have lower base inclinations and agendas. You're going to be kind of controlled by that. And so when you give power ultimately corrupts, right? So you think about giving the power of manipulating the cosmos to a human being that can't be trusted with that responsibility. No. So there is a certain point where, people in a lower state of consciousness don't perceive these lofty ideas. They can't understand them. So they can't be trusted with them. And so what I will show you what no, person's ear has heard. He's talking about base level of consciousness. They won't pick up on these things. They won't see what I'm saying. They won't hear what I'm trying to, communicate. They won't feel it in their soul. It won't shift their consciousness. It's not going to change their heart because they can't grasp the hidden wisdom. They can only maintain like the surface level ideas, if that. And so, but who can comprehend that is a true human, someone who has risen above that complete control of animal inclination and has done some level of tikkun correction and awakened their consciousness and elevated their spirit to receive enough of the light of their soul that they're not completely, slave to their animal instincts all the time or their base temptations. They have, some level of, practice and presence. And, we can fall off the wagon at any minute, right? In a second, we can fall from grace. But also in the next second, we can shift our outlook, our heart, and have, and have atonement for that and make amends and make it right. And then suddenly it's like we've realigned with the Creator again. So, we're on the edge of a sword, right? Because that's like the two of swords is in a stalemate because they keep going back and forth in their energy. They keep going back and forth in their mind. They have inner conflict. They're going from side to side. And so sometimes we have to just choose, okay, the situation is bleak, right? Like for instance, today I was supposed to go to work and I got cut from the wheel. And this week we have a shorter work week because we're closed for the 4th of July and we are closed the following day for like a staff appreciation event or whatever that was taking the place of our party that got canceled. in the winter because of the storm. So there's all these extra days off this week, and all of us, it's like kind of like July is like really slow. And so everybody is really wanting to make money, and there's a lot of cuts to be made every day. So nobody wants to volunteer to be cut, but we wouldn't mind so much if the wheel gets us, kind of thing. And so I could have been really gripped today about, I didn't get to work. I needed to work every day this week that I could because those extra days are going to be off. And instead I was just like, I accept whatever happens. I will go in and work with all my heart, and then I'll be happy I made some money, but I'm not going to be afraid and a nervous wreck and be sick about it the rest of the day if I get cut either. And I was like, I know what I'd do if I get cut, and I, make the best of it and whatever. So I got the cut, which is great because now I get to film, I get to make our daily video, I get to make the full moon workshop because today is a full moon in Capricorn. So it's all good. And then I can catch up on housework, and I can do, hopefully some preparation for this like big article I want to write for Substack. And yeah, so making the most of it, right? But I had to choose that mindset. And this morning I was feeling all of the magnified feelings of that Cancer season, just kind of tugging at all your heartstrings and triggering you in all these ways, so we can see these fears and we can see these wounds, and look at our past might resurface, and not in that kind of like way where the past comes back around like Richard Gere in A Pretty Woman with like a rose, and he's like standing up out of the limo and he's like, I'm gonna save you from your poverty. It's like not that kind of coming back around. It's more like Michael Myers coming back around, so we have to finally put an end to it, kind of thing. So, it can be really easy to get caught up in the inner, victim story, or go back into the narrative, or get really, there's a difference between feeling the feelings and then getting caught up in the whole soap opera and that dragging you down, for the whole day, and it dragging down your whole outlook for the day and souring your whole mood. And so many times today I've had to make a decisive decision on the consciousness that I'm choosing to cultivate. And it has everything to do with, am I comparing? Am I casting judgment? Am I having attachment to projections and expectations? What level of judgment, what brand of judgment am I clinging to that's causing me to be spiritually indecisive and not resolute? And then having mental confusion about it that's causing me inner conflict, that's not allowing me to be in resonance with the higher plan, right? So I can decide, and I think Gabrielle Bernstein is such a good teacher in her earlier books when she's teaching you how to choose a better thought. Like May Calls Miracles is kind of like a synopsis of 40-day May Calls Miracles. Yes. It's a synopsis of a Course in Miracles. And so A Course in Miracles is like a year-long kind of commitment, a daily thing for a year. But this book that Gabrielle Bernstein wrote in maybe 10, 15 years ago or whatever, it was called A Course in Miracles. It was like a 40-day sort of practice to help you become aware of how your ego talks to you and tricks you and all of these things. And so she was really good at simplifying it and making it more direct and super accessible. And so I remember doing that book a couple of times. It was so effective. And she just says things that are so clear. And she'll just say, when you have those obsessive thoughts coming up, when you're ruminating on stuff, when that anger, that pain is coming up and it's telling you all these stories, you just say, you know what, I'm willing to choose a better thought. I'm willing to choose a better thought. God help me choose a better thought. It's just, she just words it in such a way where you're asking for support and you're being honest. You're like, look, I am clinging to my truth on this. I am being an absolute heel. I don't think this thought. I don't even want this thought. And I don't want to think differently about this thought. I'm really having a really good time just feasting on this roast in my mind. But I choose to be willing to be better. It's like the next step that you can reach, just be willing to be a little bit better, to let go just a little bit, do it bit by bit. Just even being decisive and trying to aim for a better direction is something that will shift the energy. All right, that is all for today. We will be back together shortly. I'm going to take a little break, and then this afternoon I will film our full moon workshop. So be looking out for that. I'll see y'all later. Ciao.